So the last episode of this podcast was actually a really lengthy one. And it was lengthy because it was so important to talk about habits and how our brains are wired to reward ourselves when we perform actions subconsciously, which are habits. But today what we're going to do is build on the last episode and learn the 5 easy habits you need to start implementing right now. Welcome, everyone. If you are new here, my name is Justin. This is the Strength, Yoga, and Freedom podcast. That's right, the podcast where we use the philosophy of yoga in a practical and everyday way, one small step at a time, to become happier people. I am so excited about today's episode where we are going to talk about the 5 easy habits that you can start implementing right now. And I love talking about habits. I just said this in the last episode, and I love this topic because we're already doing the work. That's what's so great about habits. We already have them. So we don't need to learn something new. We already have the ability to change what we're doing, create new habits, and stop performing old ones because we know how to do that already. We're already doing it. But before we get started, just a couple things I like to always mention. On Instagram, you can connect with me at Justin Ricky Yoga, JustinRicciYoga. You can also follow the link below in the show notes for this episode and find me on Instagram. You can also donate to this podcast through listener support. That's also in the links, or even buy me a coffee as well. And that's in the show notes as well. And for those of you who are doing that, thank you very much. My gratitude is absolutely over the top for those of you who spread your gratitude in those ways. So thank you. And speaking of spreading goodness, it's Easter time coming up for a lot of us. And if you want some great goodies, remember Kenzie's Sweet Treats. That's right, Kenzie's Sweet Treats. She is a follower and supporter and a member of this community, and her business is linked in the show notes as well. She will give you 15% off your first order if you mention this podcast or the code Justin SYF15 off, because let me tell you something. One of the things that I love that she has is her chocolate covered Oreos. I had some a couple weeks ago. Delicious. So check those out in the link in the show notes. All right. Now that we have all that out of the way, I want to thank you all for the feedback on the last episode of this podcast. As I mentioned before the introduction here, we talked about what habits are, and then we talked about what we could do to use them to shift our thinking to make habits work for us, because it is really easy to look at a big mountain ahead of us and think we don't have the tools to actually climb the mountain. But we actually do, and as I said before, we're already doing the work right now with the habits. You just have to make the determination as to which habits work for you and which ones don't, because that will lead to long-term effects, which will lead to long-term happiness. So the effects of the habit will build your long-term happiness. So if you did not have a chance to listen to the last episode, which was entitled The 6 Habits You Already Have and What They Are Teaching You. So if you have not listened to that episode just yet, just stop now and go back and listen to that before continuing here, because the background of understanding how habits work and what it does in your brain is essential to learning what you can do so that you can create new habits, which we're going to talk about today. In particular, the new habits that we need in order to live happier lives. We're going to touch a little bit on how the science works in this episode, but I really dove into that on the last episode. So go back and listen to that if you haven't. Now, remember also in the last episode that we explored the term tapas. And tapas, you may hear this word translated to mean heat in yoga, but it also translates to self-discipline. And habits are formed from some type of discipline, because self-discipline is nothing short of the desire and the need to become someone of character and strength. When you build habits, you're building them out of some type of self-discipline. Now, self-discipline through tapas is a daily practice of breaking the habits that do not serve you, tapping into the habits that do serve you in the long term. And not just those short-term habits like we talked about in the last episode. It means you're showing up for yourself. You're creating a future version of yourself. You're creating a version of yourself that reaches towards a higher level of thinking, which leads to a higher level of being. That's where the foundation of yoga comes in and the philosophy of yoga comes in this episode, is that we're talking about the heat, the fire, the heat that you have to walk through to start some brand new routines that will form a new habit in your brain. That's what will drive you to become a happier person. We also remember that habits themselves are actually things we do without thinking about it that yield a result. That result is a dopamine high that you get. Yes, that feeling you get just after having that sip of morning coffee, or that feeling in your mouth after brushing your teeth, or when you clean off the counters and now your kitchen is clean and you're like, oh, it's so nice in here. Okay, whatever it is, your body produces the chemical dopamine. And then what does your body want? More of it, more of it, more of it. This is what leads to cultivating good habits, as well as the habits that may also not serve you long term. Because your brain does not know what's positive and negative at all. Your brain only knows that it wants more of something. It's up to you to control what the positive or the negative habit is that you're forming. So I want to talk quickly about two things before we dive into the 5 habits you need to implement in your life right now. I want to talk about these two things first. Number 1, manifesting. In the last episode, I talked about manifesting and looking at a vision board. Now, a question was posed by one of you that said, should I not have a vision board yet? Should we not do vision boards? Well, here's my answer to that. Of course you can have a vision board. You can do whatever you want to do when you're looking forward to big things. You want that new car? Amazing. You want that house by the beach? Yes. You want that boat or that yacht? Okay, great. How about more money? All right, perfect. You should want all of those things. You can have those things, but those things don't come by you putting pictures on a vision board and then you sit on the couch with your bag of chips and you watch Netflix. You see, that's different than manifesting. That's wishing. You can wish all you want, but wishing is not the same thing as manifesting. If you want a better life, you have to work for it, and that's where habits come in. So when we're talking about vision boards, if you feel like vision boards help you to visualize something that you're going to have in your life, but you're going to do the work to get to it, great, make a vision board. But vision boards don't do you any good by just planning a whole bunch of pictures on a big white board and then sitting around on the couch all day. So that's the clarification I want to give you and an answer to that question. That's number 1. Now, number 2, some of you also wondered about controlling some of the habits that were not yielding you long-term positive outcomes, like drinking or smoking or complaining or procrastinating and so on. Now, there's a lot you can do to help yourself with those types of habits. Now, if they're really severe, obviously, you really want to get some professional help because it's widely available. There's no judgment when it comes to that. In fact, it's a huge act of self-love to really put yourself into some type of program or get yourself some type of help that will help you to kick those really, if you've gone really deep into some of those habits and they turn into addictions. But on a smaller scale, if you just want to cut down, then maybe try replacing it with a new habit, which we're going to talk about. Because remember, your brain still is going to want dopamine. So if you stop these old habits, your brain's going to be like, hey, what are you doing? You know, if you've ever tried to stop smoking cold turkey, oh my gosh, I have. If you have, holy moly, all you can think about is that next cigarette, right? Because your brain is wired that way. So when you reach for a drink and you don't want that drink, try a non-alcoholic beverage instead, or a mocktail. Or instead of the cigarette, you have the gum there and you put the gum in your mouth. Listen, I'm not here to tell you to stop any of those habits or that there is a magic amount of alcohol you can or cannot have or amount of smoking you can or cannot do. Listen, you can do whatever you want to do. What we're doing here is we're just presenting you with the facts about what the long-term effects could be with some habits versus others. And your energy shift, if it's on habits like drinking or smoking or some of those other procrastinating and complaining and whining and all of those other things I talked about in the last episode when it came to the habits that you already have and what they're doing to your life, when it comes to those things, You have to determine how you're going to change those habits, moderate those habits, or get rid of those habits altogether. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's get right into it, because these are the 5 big habits you need in your life right now. Some of these may be a repeat. You may have heard me talk about these, but some of them may surprise you. So let's get right into it. Number 1, compliment people. All right. How many of you ask someone how they are the first second you see them? Oh, hi, Joan. How are you? That's the first thing you ask. You know what that is? That's a habit you've created by saying, how are you? Do you really care how someone is? Yeah, you might. You actually might care how someone actually is. But a lot of times when you just say that, you're just saying it because you're just saying it. Now, when you form a habit of complimenting people right away, you are going to be amazed at how different your conversations go. Plus, it gives other people less opportunity to complain. Why? Because if you ask someone how they are, don't you have those people in your life who are like, oh God, I've been having the worst day ever, and now I have to go to work, and now my husband is this, and my wife is that, and my kids are that, right? If you compliment them on something, that gives them less of a window of opportunity to complain. You also are not then enabling a complainer's behavior, because when you enable complaining, you're part of the problem. So if someone else complains nonstop and you indulge in that complaining, you're not helping anything. So pick something that you can compliment them on. Usually I compliment someone's maybe the way their hair looks, if they've had their nails done, a piece of jewelry, their smile, the color of their eyes, an article of clothing. It starts the conversation on such a positive note, and it opens up another person to you, especially if you don't know them. Complimenting strangers is a great way to meet people, by the way. If you're at your local coffee shop and the person who's behind the counter hands you your coffee and you notice that they have really nice nails, maybe be like, thank you, and oh my gosh, I love your nails. That's all you need to say. Normally, they'll smile back at you. All right, so that's number 1, because starting to compliment people today is going to change your life right now. So start that today, and it's not hard. It's easy to do that. You just have to be mindful and do it. Number 2, honor your bedtime. All right, so I said habits are easy. And so you might be thinking, I don't know when my bedtime is. I work late. I have kids. I have to get them ready for school the next day. And I have to do this and I have to do that. Okay, that's a bunch of whining. This is an easy habit. You just think it's hard because you don't want to do it. You would rather feed the body things at night that allow you to stay up, which is poor time management, shitty eating at night, not turning off your phone ahead of your bedtime, not keeping your phone in your bed with you and looking at all that crap on social media before you lay your precious head and close your precious eyes down for sleep. I mean, that's what you would rather do because those things are easy. And then what do? You get up the next day and you complain about being tired. Do you know how many people I hear a day say that they're tired? It's unnerving to hear that. It's so annoying. And yes, I get tired too, clearly. I have nights where I don't sleep well, but I make it a point on the regular to be in bed with no technology in my bedroom between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. almost every night. Now, do you want to know why I do that? Because I love myself and I believe in the ability to create and manifest the life that I want. And I am not going to do that by going out and drinking or going out to the club or staying up late and doing things that don't serve me, which will cause me excruciating anxiety the next day. The habit of a solid evening routine, including going to bed on time, doesn't mean, and listen, I didn't say go to bed early, did I? I never said you have to go to bed early. I said honor your bedtime. So what that means is you need to go to bed and give yourself a bedtime that is sufficient for you to get enough sleep, so you are crushing the next day with a superpower. You need sleep. Your immune system needs sleep. Your patients need sleep. The people in your life need you to sleep. So honor your bedtime. Ask yourself the question, when do I really need to go to bed? In a couple episodes prior to this, we talked about morning routines. And one of the things in the morning that you need to really think about is what time you need to wake up to actually start your day. And if you're waking up and you roll out of bed and you roll out the door to go to work, you're not honoring yourself by doing that, because you're not giving yourself a freaking moment to like figure out how the hell you feel before the person out there is going to tell you how they feel because you're saying, how are you? And they're going to say, oh my God, I had the worst night of sleep. See how this all connects with each other? So honor your bedtime. Number 3, okay, back to the morning, get up when the alarm rings. This one is actually easy, but it's not easy. If you have an alarm set, that means you are getting up for a reason in the morning, right? Otherwise, why would you set an alarm? If you're like, okay, well, I can sleep in today, you don't need to set an alarm. But for the majority of the time, you have an alarm set because you need to do something in the morning. Now, even if you do not set an alarm and you are someone who can wake up without an alarm, you need to get up. If you make the promise to yourself that you will wake up in the morning when that alarm goes off, and you are going to get up when the alarm goes off, hitting the snooze button or staying in bed and not getting up and looking at your phone or thinking about all the shit you have to do today is basically saying to yourself, all right, Justin, I'm up. Fuck you. Fuck you and fuck your life. That's what you're saying to yourself. Is that really who you want to be? Is that really what you want to do? Because if you are, you're listening to the wrong podcast. I'm telling you that right now. And getting up when the alarm rings is the first step. Now, let me get honest with you right now. I'm going to tell you something that's personal to me. I hate getting up in the morning. I hate it. I hate it. I am not the person who is going to be able to spring up and just immediately be in a great mood and do so without an alarm. And I have to push myself every day to get up. Every single day of my life, I have to force myself to get up. But I'm going to tell you something. It has changed my life when I stopped pressing the snooze button. It had changed my life when I started to set an intention the night before with the alarm and saying, when I get up with that alarm, it means I'm getting up because I owe myself the pleasure of getting up and enjoying an hour for myself, which is what I take in the morning in my morning routine, 1 hour before I interact with anyone. Anyone. All right? So the thing here is, you don't have to like getting up. You don't have to like honoring your bedtime the night before. You don't have to like complimenting people. You might not be in the mood to do any of these things, but guess what? When you do them, it's going to change your life, because then the bad habits are being replaced with good habits. And what I mean by bad habits is a habit you categorize as a habit that is not serving you anymore, like speeding, like turning without your turn signal, like running red lights, whatever those are. Those could be, quote, bad habits for you. It's not up to me to determine what's bad or not bad for, or good or bad or whatever for you. It's up to you to determine that. So that's number 3. Get up when the alarm rings. Number 4, move that body every day. Let's talk about what this really means, though. Exercising is important. And what I mean by the word exercise is getting your heart rate up. Heart rate. Exercising is not walking up and down your basement, up and down your basement stairs. That's not exercise. Yes, that's great. You do get a little movement in doing that, and it's better than sitting around on the couch, but that's not exercising. That's also not moving your body. This is not I have to go take the trash out, so I move my body down the driveway and that's my exercise, or that's my moving my body. Or I am going to go to work, and so I work on my feet, so that's my exercise. That's moving my body. No. See, here's the thing. Those are necessities. Taking the trash out, going to work, going downstairs, walking to the car, going to the grocery store and doing your shopping. If you couple those with thinking those things are part of moving your body, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Moving your body can mean the lightest bit of exercise. A little something to get your heart rate moving just a little bit more. It has some little bit of exertion to it. And imagine it like this, like you're walking through a crowded airport to catch your plane. You don't have to be running literally, but you're walking at a very fast pace. You're not strolling, you are moving. You are moving that body. I suggest doing that for about 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes every day. If you can't do a full-fledged exercise that day, then move your body for 10 minutes. You want to know why? Because you're on Instagram and you're on Facebook every day for at least 10 minutes. So you can exercise or move your body for at least 10 minutes. And by the way, it's also wonderful to work out at home, but if you push yourself to go outside and work out or move your body or go to a group fitness class or go to the gym, a few extra things are going to happen. So working out at home is great if you want to just take one small step. But if you want to go, all right, I'm working out at home, but my kids are here and I have these four walls and I can't be outside and I can't be in the sunlight, then you want to level up. You need to get outside or you need to go somewhere else aside from in your house. Because going outside is going to give you natural light. That's critical to your well-being. And also it's critical to your circadian rhythm. So a lot of people will tell you the first thing that you should do in the morning is look at natural light. So if that's something you like to do, great. And so going outside to do that is very important. Plus, if you go somewhere else to do an exercise routine or a group fitness class or go to the gym, you have a greater chance of meeting people. And you have a greater chance of making connections, which can enhance your life as well. So pairing a task with exercise is an excuse not to exercise. Do you see what I'm saying? Getting on a ladder and changing a light bulb is not an excuse to say, well, that's my exercise. I have to climb up the ladder. Of course, you're moving your body more than sitting on the couch, but that's not exercise. That's a task. Okay, let's talk about the fifth and final one. And for those of you who are wondering how to squash those bad habits, quote, that you have or habits that don't serve you anymore, it's gratitude. It's gratitude. That's number 5. This is the most important of all. And let me give you an example. Recently, where I live, and maybe where you live too, we had a lot of storms that came through. And for this time of year, I live in the northeast part of the country. So for this time of year, storms can happen, but we had some really severe weather for, this time of year. We're in March. By the time you hear this episode, it will be April. But we heard and felt lots of thunder, lots of lightning, lots of high winds, and it knocked trees down and it left people without power. Now, you may also be familiar with this happening recently because it didn't happen just in this area of the country. It happened in a lot of places. And so how many of you actually stop and think about how grateful you are for electricity every day? There were people that had to go and stay in hotels or go and stay with other people or had food spoiled and had to go replace all their food at the grocery store. And you see, a simple habit of being grateful for the good and the bad teaches you to subconsciously start working and responding in gratitude. And guess what that does? That stops the complaining. That stops the need for feeling like you have to have that drink after work. That stops the need for putting the cigarette in your mouth because you're anxious. You see, this attitude taps into tapas, fire, discipline. When you're grateful for the experiences that are coming your way, whether they suck or whether they're amazing, you are going to change the way you think about your habits. And your habits, if it is to complain, if it is to procrastinate, if it is to do something else that could be negative for you, and your power goes out, well, now you're not going to be able to do anything because you are now crippled. You're handicapped. Something has been taken away from you, and now you have to operate on a different level. And so we don't want that. We need to be grateful. That's why when there are people who actually do have a handicap or people that do have a crippling disease, and I use those words with intention here, aren't sometimes those people the most grateful people you meet? Someone who can't stand up out of a wheelchair? You see, you have the ability every day to create a better life for yourself, but you're the only one who's stopping it. And you're stopping yourself because you have habits that aren't serving you. So if your habit is every Friday night, you're wasted in your local watering hole, your local bar, your local club, and you can't even open your eyes the next day and you bitch and complain about having headaches, stomach aches, poor immune system, poor hydration, sinus issues, allergy problems, runny noses, and anything else, the first person you need to look at is you. Not complaining about all that shit to everybody else. Look at you, because the habits you create are the person you become. You can either become a person of gratitude or you can become a person who is going to complain all the time. That's your choice. So these habits are so important. These habits are habits you can create right now. You just have to make the switch. You have to be the one that wants it. You have to be the one who takes the initiative. I'm not doing it for you, and no one else is going to do it for you. Not your partner either, by the way. Because some of you have partners out there who are not going to want to grow with you and are not going to want to change their habits. And that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother issue you have to figure out in your own relationship. So take these habits that I've given you today and take them with grace. Take them with grace because they are there to help serve you in the future. And until next episode, go out there and enjoy the happiness that you're going to create with these new habits because you deserve it. I'll see you guys next time. Okay, one last thing. The content in the Strength, Yoga, and Freedom podcast is not intended as a replacement or a substitution for the advice of any medical professional, like a physician, a psychologist, or a qualified therapist, or any other medical professional. It is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only.